Hey folks, Joe Morris with Answers, Heaven Speaks. If you ever want to catch up on all the stories that we're doing daily, once again, we do this Monday through Friday, and then we take Saturday off, and then on Sunday, if I haven't gotten all wrapped up in sports, I'll come out and I'll do just strictly a biblical show. And so I'm not going to intersperse the Urantia book and the Bible for now on, because a lot of it is what's the word I'm looking for? Congruent. They're running together pretty good, but there are four gospels, and then there's different takes on the different from the different gospels. So we're going to stick strictly to the story because it's sort of like reading a novel. It's a lot of fun. Marissa's taken off. I don't know where she's gone. I don't know if she's driven away or whatever. I know she had some errands she wanted to run, and but I think she's still going to be here. I think she's still here. Marissa, are you still here? I think she stepped outside. So what we're going to do is what's happened and I'm kind of scrolling. Okay, farewell to the 70. That's where we left off yesterday. Jesus has put together, gosh, so much has happened. He went down to Jerusalem, and he went to the Feast of the Tabernacles, much to the chagrin of his apostles, because now Jesus had been telling him that he's going to die. I mean, they're going to arrest him, they're going to kill him, and then he's going to come back again. But they don't understand. They don't understand what that means, because nobody has ever done that before. Nobody's ever died and come back. But it's totally freaked out the apostles. And so they really don't want him to leave that area of Perea, which is up around Galilee, the Sea of Galilee, and go back down to Jerusalem. Now, I did some checking, and if you drive from Capernaum, which is up there at the northern point, top of Sea of Galilee, if you drive a car from Capernaum to Jerusalem, it takes 2 hours. So from Capernaum to Jerusalem is I think it's like 110 miles. But when he's tromping around the Sea of Galilee, from there down to Jerusalem is about 85 miles. So they're always walking this distance. I even checked on the internet, I checked on Google, how many miles did Jesus normally walk every day? And it turned out that he walked about 20 miles a day. And today, if we can get to it, we're going to find that he's going to bring this, well, what's going to happen is David Zebedee, who is the messenger corps. David Zebedee is the younger brother of James and John Zebedee, who are the apostles. And of course, the son of Mr. Zebedee, who is a great boat builder up there in Capernaum or Bethsaida, one or the other. I think Capernaum. And David Zebedee, well, Jesus is going to send out the 70. And there's something special in that number with the Jews, 70. But he has whittled down his evangelistic corps down to 70, which includes the apostles from Abner, Abner heads up the apostles from John the Baptist. And there's 12 of them. And then there's 12 apostles of Jesus. So that's 24 right there. So how many does that leave? 46 evangelists that got whittled down into the group. So now there's 70 of them. And Jesus is going to send them out 2 by 2 to all the different towns. He's going to tell them to stay in houses and what have you, and pick the places to go, and not to take any food with them or any clothing, just what they're wearing on their back, and be accepted by people who will welcome these people into their home. And not to seek out the most fanciest homes, but just accept the home that they would be accepted by, homeowners in whatever little towns as them being pilgrims. And so we're going to get into that. I don't know if Marissa's taken off or not. I wonder, let me pop and see if she left for a second. Hold on. If I could just pause this for a second. You're going to look at a chair. Oh, she's here. Oh, she says, I'm right here. Okay, good. Oh, okay. Oh, you are?
I wrote in there, I'm outside.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so at least Marissa's watching right now, so she's going to hear what the story is. And, oh boy, we're going to have some feedback if you got that going. Good. So I was afraid she's going to take off. She's got a bunch of errands to run, and I kind of commandeered the car all day today. I had some doctor appointments, and I had to do some other errands and things and running around, and finally ordered my glasses again over at Costco. They botched my other order when I was stuck in the hospital. So I had to go reorder them again. And hopefully they'll come before I take off. But they'll be rimless. I want the rimless glasses. So anyway, so I had commandeered the car, and Marissa still has a bunch of things to do. So I thought she was going to take off. But yay, she's here. So good. You would not believe how many people are watching this now with Marissa involved. It's a lot of people. We've got a lot of people. Over 3,000. Over 3,000. It's like 3,400 now. That have watched our Sunday show. So we're getting real excited. And we ask that hopefully there she is.
I'm recording us with this. This is a camera.
Oh, you are?
These sunglasses.
Those sunglasses?
If anyone ever looks at you with these and they see you see a little light, they're recording you.
Wow.
I'm recording you. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's going on my phone.
Oh my gosh.
They're Facebook glasses.
Oh, that's how you catch people.
Yep.
Ask them a question and they can't deny it. Although a little blinking light on the
I could cover that with a little black ink, and then they have the ones now that are actually glasses, not sunglasses.
Oh,
I want to get the glasses and wear them during interviews and just turn them on. Then you're recording.
Oh, those are cool. Those are really cool. I was ordering just regular glasses. She's got some really fancy ones. So anyway, we're not going to get into any secular stuff. We're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to talk about what goes on with big pharma or anything like that. But I kind of had some really good conversations with my doctors recently, and they know what's going on. They really know what's going on, sorta. They sorta do. But let's stick to the story because it's so exciting to be here with Marissa. And when we're doing this, all the universe personalities start coming in, so that's a lot of fun. And then Marissa will have something to say when we get done. If not, she'll just say hello and goodbye. And maybe they didn't have anything to add to the story. Because this is just a story. We're just going to talk about a story today. Jesus is going to send out his farewell to those 70 now that he has put together. And he wants to feel comfortable that when he is persecuted, when he is prosecuted and ends up dying, he will feel comfortable that he has established the right people to go out and continue his word. So let's get into it, and then he's going to kind of sneak away from everybody after they set up a camp in Pella, and that's David Zebedee. Remember, he had set something up way up there in Bethsaida some time ago, maybe a few months back. We're up into late December now of AD 29, so think back around August or July. David Zebedee had set up that camp where pilgrims were coming in from all over the place, like 1,500 people, and he set them up in a tent city. So he's going to do that again, but he's going to do it in Pella. At least for many is maybe somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people that will follow the ministers. The evangelists are going to go out and they're going to minister a little bit and they're going to heal. They're given the power to heal now from Jesus. So they're going to go out and they're going to heal minor illnesses, and that's going to pick up new pilgrims. They're going to want to follow him in to see the rock star. The rock star is Jesus, of course. Everybody wants to meet Jesus. I mean, I wish I could meet him, to tell you the truth. In a way, I do, through our channeling, but sure would be nice to see his face and just have him talk to us. Marissa's lucky. She gets to see him.
He's here all the time.
Oh, you're lucky. Does he is as dreamy as Rosemary says he is?
I don't know. I doubt he even looks the way that I see him when I see him.
Really?
I don't think he has green and blue eyes. I think that he's probably super dark skin with dark hair, probably almost black.
Really?
I mean, if figure he was back there in Egypt, right?
Yeah, but there were a lot of white people back then in those days. Yeah, that had traveled down from the northern climes looking for good weather. And so
It says he's fair.
he's fair skinned.
He's more fair. He's not dark.
It's hard to say. I don't know, because his mom birthed him, but we don't know what they did up in the ethers up there to artificially inseminate her.
Yeah.
We don't know the egg that they used to inseminate her.
True.
But
They used Joseph.
I don't think they used Joseph. Otherwise, they would have just let Joseph and Mary go ahead and have him.
They would have had sex. And then it wouldn't have been a miraculous story.
Yeah, they didn't have sex to have Yeshua.
Artificial insemination.
Yeah, basically, I think that's what happened. Gabriel came down and told her, "Look, you're going to have a kid," and
It was a turkey baster.
and she's going, but wait a minute, we haven't had sex yet. Don't worry. Gabriel says, "Don't worry about it." That's what they keep telling Marisa and I right now. Whenever Marisa says something, I go, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." That's about the only thing I keep hearing from them. She hears all kinds of stuff. The only thing I keep hearing from somebody up there is, "Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it." And I guess that's a good lesson to all of us. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If you have faith in Christ, if you have faith in your team and your soul and your spirit, then don't worry about it. They'll take care of you. So anyway, we're going to get into the farewell to the 70. And it was a stirring time about the Magadan camp. They're up in Magadan, which is still up there in around Galilee, but they're going to work their way down about halfway to Jerusalem, into a camp called Pella, which is still in Perea. And Perea, he's safe from getting arrested there because, again, Herod is the one that had sent out the warrant for his arrest, just at the insistence of the Sanhedrin. And he didn't really want to arrest him. He didn't find any reasons to arrest him, but he kept having these Jews come in there. The elite of the Jews were just going, "No, we got to get rid of this guy. We got to get rid of this guy." And they know they can't kill him because they're not allowed to kill anybody in the Roman Empire. They can continue their rule. They have their king, Herod, and they have their own rules and everything. But it's sort of like, how would it be? It's sort of like living in a state. You live by state rules, state laws, what have you. But the federal government oversees everything. And that's kind of the way it was with the Roman Empire. They let the Jews go ahead and run their city, run their towns, run their country, so to speak, but they could never kill anybody without the approval of the Roman authorities. So we'll get into that. That's going to be coming up. So they were up there in Magadan, and they're going to be moving a little bit south now, getting closer to Jerusalem. So it was a stirring time about the Magadan camp. And remember, he had been talking about wealth and how, we have to back up a little bit because so many people nowadays, Christians and non-Christians.
Who's Herod?
Who's Herod?
Herod.
He's here?
Yeah, he's a big, huge person.
Herod and Antipas. He was the king of the Jews.
Oh, yeah, Herod.
But he's also the one that chopped off the head of John the Baptist. He's not a good guy.
He's right there.
So I don't.
If he's coming in with information.
Is he going to try and say something? I've asked to be put in that bubble and protected.
It's just the oversoul of whoever that was.
God, if I didn't fit it into our prayer today, please, please, please surround this house with your armor, with your aura. Put us in the snow globe.
Was hired to play the bad guy.
Well, he actually favored Jesus. He actually did. But he was scared to death of John the Baptist. He was more afraid of John the Baptist than he was Jesus.
I always thought John the Baptist was Christ.
John the Baptist had the soul of... no, it wasn't Christ. It was the soul of... who is the one that was taken up? Not Enoch. It's the other. It's not Ishmael. It's
Ezra.
Oh no, you folks out there, you know who it is.
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel. Yeah, Ezekiel. Elisha.
Right.
Yeah, Ezekiel.
I just heard that in my head.
Yeah, that's it. He had the, was it Ezekiel that was taken up? Elisha, and no, not Ezekiel, Elijah.
Like Ezekiel.
Boy, that takes a long time to pull out of the gray matter. What's that?
Now Ezekiel's here. All of them.
Well, Ezekiel was a prophet. And the prophets are, they were all loved by the Jews, but they killed them first. Everybody they loved, they killed, and then they went, "Oh, I don't think we should have done that." Oops. So it was. I always wanted to say Isaiah, but it's not. It's who was it? Hurry, blanked.
Ezekiel, Elijah.
Yeah, Elijah. Now, if Elijah came in, that'd be really cool, because Elijah is who Jesus met in the. When he had the transformation, I forget exactly what it's called, the something of transformation. When Jesus glowed and two people showed up, and John and James and Peter were up there and just totally freaked out. And they assumed it was Elijah and Moses. And it turned out it was actually Gabriel and I think Emmanuel that met him at the Mount of Transfiguration. So anyway, let me see. What was I really going to say? I was going to say, many people today, especially non-Christians, they like to bring up Jesus to throw back into the Christians' face to say, well, Jesus was a socialist. He wanted everybody to get rid of their money and give it to the poor. So he was a socialist. Well, no. If you go back in our story, you'll know that Jesus actually traveled in one caravan, remember? And he was the tutor to the son of the caravan owner. And then after that, they went back to India. Somebody else hired him to run an entire caravan for a year. This is when he was in his 20s. And they would buy and sell goods, buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell. I mean, that's what caravans did. Totally capitalistic. And Jesus used to have his own woodworking shop where he would make yokes, all kinds of things people needed. So he ran his own business. Plus he ran in two caravans. No, the only people he wanted to give up all their worldly possessions were the people that were intimate to him, that traveled with him, because they didn't want to be sidetracked. They didn't want to be sidetracked by their possessions or what have you. In fact, Marisa and I talked about this. Should we turn the camera horizontal or leave it vertical? And I said, if we turn it horizontal, then I'm going to be detracting from you while you're doing your thing, and you're going to be detracting from me when I'm doing my thing, because that's natural for your eyes to be going back and forth. So I think it works out better. We continue to do this in the vertical. And then so I'm on here when I'm on here, and when Marisa comes on, it's Marisa. Marisa's on here. And neither one of us will take either space. So anyway, they've left the, let's see. Oh, you got that one plugged back in, don't you? Okay, yeah, it just told me, watch out. I don't know if I've got enough battery there. Anyway, that's okay. Marissa's going to print out some things.
No, I'm not going to print anything out. I was just seeing if it worked.
Oh, okay. So anyway, they're up there in the Magadan camp. They chose the 70, and now they're going to be sent out on this ministry. Don't worry about it. Her printer over there is making a few clicks. So let's get into the story. I don't want to babble forever here. So it was a stirring time about the Magadan camp, the day the 70 went forth on their first mission. Now they've been training. Jesus has been training his apostles for like 2 years now. But he's been spending a lot of time up there in Magadan and teaching them on, well, actually Peter's the one that actually taught them what to preach and what to say. But Jesus kind of wraps it all up here very shortly. So early that morning in his last talk with the 70, Jesus placed emphasis on the following. The gospel of the kingdom must be proclaimed to all the world, to the Gentile as well as the Jew. Now, what we had read in the Bible on Sunday was his admonitions, his instructions to his 12. And if you remember, when he originally sent out his 12 to start doing some little ministry, He said, don't go to the Gentiles. Stick strictly with the lost sheep of the Jews. But now he's saying, go out to everybody. Go to everybody. Number 2, while ministering to the sick, refrain from teaching the expectation of miracles. Again, the best way to teach people to heal what may appear to be a miracle is actually for them to have faith, strong faith, faith in themselves. If they have faith in their trust in God, they can heal themselves just by the touch of somebody else. What's that religion nowadays where preachers go up and touch somebody and they fall over and they're healed or whatever? If it truly is true that they're healed, it's because those people had so much faith in the pastor that he was delivering miracle to them from God. Then that's really what does it. That's what really heals you, is actually your faith. So number 3, proclaim a spiritual brotherhood of the sons of God, not an outward kingdom of worldly power and material glory. Strictly the kingdom of heaven. Don't be talking about material things or political power. Number 4, avoid loss of time through overmuch social visiting and other trivialities which might detract from wholehearted devotion to preaching the gospel. In other words, don't stand around and just kind of socialize with people. Do what you have to do and then move on. Move on to somewhere else. Number 5, if the first house to be selected for a headquarters proves to be a worthy home, abide there throughout the sojourn in that city. Number 6, make clear, this is Jesus' instructions. He says, make clear to all faithful believers that the time for an open break with the religious leaders of the Jews at Jerusalem has now come. In other words, he's saying, stay away from all those Pharisees and Sanhedrin people because they hate you. They don't like you at all. They think you're upending their own religion. So Jesus tells them, break from them right now. As of now, stay away from the religious leaders. Number 7, teach that man's whole duty is summed up in this one commandment. This is the overriding rules over all the rules that the Jews have. And it's the rule that we need to live by today, and is love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul, do his will, and with all your mind and soul, and your neighbor as yourself. So love your neighbor as yourself. Very hard thing to do. Then in parentheses it says this they were to teach as man's whole duty in place of the 613 rules of living expounded by the Pharisees. So the Pharisees are out there teaching all the old rules. And Jesus boiled it down to 2, just 2. 1, love God with all your heart and soul, do his will. And the other is love your neighbor as yourself. Hard thing to do. And we've got a few exceptions to that. And Jesus has talked about it. If you really can't love that neighbor because that neighbor is evil in nature or whatever, you try to convince him otherwise to not be that way. And if it doesn't work, bring 2 more people with you and try it again. If that doesn't work, take them before the church or the authorities. And if that doesn't work, then just walk on by. Just walk on by. Say a prayer. Say, okay, I hope God helps that guy out. And then walk on by. Just walk on by. You don't have to love him anymore. I guess you have to love him in a way. You have to love it that he has a soul. It's just that his soul just doesn't have any means to take over the mental mind of certain humans. Humans just don't want it, and they don't want to know that they got a soul. They don't want to be guided by anything special. They want to do everything on their own. That's why humans run into problems all the time. So when Jesus had talked thus to the 70 in the presence of all the apostles and disciples, Simon Peter took them off by themselves and preached to them their ordination sermon, which was an elaboration of the master's charge given at the time he laid his hands upon them and set them apart as messengers. And we read that on Sunday. Peter exhorted the 70 to cherish in their experience the following virtues. So Peter's telling them, number 1, consecrated devotion, to pray always for more laborers to be sent forth into the gospel harvest. get more sowers. More sowers. Again, it's the parable of the sower. Dropping seeds, dropping seeds, dropping seeds. Get as many sowers as possible. He explained that when one so prays, he will more likely say, "Here am I, send me." And he admonished them to neglect not their daily worship. Peter goes on, he says, number 2, true courage. Courage. You can imagine, these guys are going out, they're out there in the belly of the beast, ministering something new around Gentiles who have lots of gods, and around Jews who have, yes, the Father, but they got lots and lots and lots of rules. And the Jews aren't liking them too much. So Peter says, have true courage. He warned them that they would encounter hostility and be certain to meet with persecution. Marisa and I feel that ourselves because, like I say, we're kind of in this thing called bridging the gap between Christianity and spirituality. And when we started on this mission 11 years ago, the Christians didn't want to have anything to do with what I was doing. And the spiritualists didn't want to hear about Jesus and church and Christ. And so we were kind of like an island out there. We just didn't really have an audience. We didn't have anybody. We just had ourselves and our belief. And, of course, Christ on our side as well. So it's taken a lot of courage on Marissa's and my part as well to continue doing this because we're pissing off the Christians. But I think the spiritualists are truly coming around. I think a lot of spiritualists are closet Christians, maybe are closet Jews as well. And they're coming out. They're coming out a little bit now. They're kind of understanding a little bit more about the spirituality and how it mixes with Jesus' story. So Peter told them their mission was no undertaking for cowards and advised those who were afraid to basically step out, go away, before they even started. But no one withdrew. None of the 70 left. Number 3, faith and trust. They must go forth on this short mission wholly, unprovided for. They must trust the Father for food and shelter and all other things that basically they would need. Number 4, zeal and initiative. Use some initiative. They must be possessed with zeal. Excited, excited about what they're doing, not being just dry, like dry reading the Bible and just fall asleep. They must be possessed with zeal and intelligent enthusiasm. They must attend strictly to their master's business. Then it says, oriental salutation was a lengthy and elaborate ceremony. Therefore, had they been instructed to salute no man by the way. So in a way, he was kind of pushing away the Oriental people. I think that's a nasty word nowadays. I remember when I lived in Taiwan, everybody was referred to as Orientals. And then I came back referring to people from Asia as Oriental. I went, oh my God, no, don't use that word. Well, it's used here. And there's just so many different beliefs coming out of the Oriental, out of Asia. So salute no man, by the way, which was a common method of exhorting one to go about his business without the waste of time. It had nothing to do with the matter of a friendly greeting. Number 5, kindness and courtesy. A lot of these things we've got in our own channeling as well. These might be something I might want to pull up on Sunday out of our own channeling and mix it kind of in with the biblical accounts of all this. Because we cover a lot of this stuff. Jesus did in Conversations with Jesus, and we've got these 21-day cards that cover a lot of these things. Kindness and courtesy. The master had instructed them to avoid unnecessary waste of time in social ceremonies, but he enjoined courtesy toward all with whom they should come in contact. So they should be courteous, just don't waste your time standing around shooting the bull, so to speak. Their mission was to proclaim the kingdom of heaven and to do the will of the Father. They were to show every kindness to those who might entertain them in their homes. and they were strictly warned against leaving a modest home just to be entertained in a more comfortable or an influential one. In other words, when they settle down in the one house, if somebody across the street in a great big fancy house invited them to come over, Jesus is saying, no, stay with the one who invited you in first. Even if somebody with a big fancy house invites you in. Number 6, ministry to the sick. Ministry to the sick. So Jesus is giving them that power. He hasn't turned over that spirit of truth to them yet. That comes after his resurrection. But he's giving them power. He's empowering them to minister to the sick. And the 70 were charged by Peter to search out the sick in mind and body, and to do everything in their power to bring about the alleviation or the cure of their maladies. And when they had been thus charged and instructed by Peter, they started out 2 by 2 on their mission in Galilee, Samaria, and Judea. That's a big area, and lots of towns. And I was looking at the map of Israel today, and boy, they got a lot of towns. In Israel. So although the Jews had a peculiar regard for the number of 70, the Jews had something about this number 70. In the Bible, though, they talk about the 72. The 72. Here they talk about 70. So I'm not sure. I don't know how to bring those two together. Sometimes considering the nations of heathendom as being 70 in number. Maybe at that time there were 70 heathen nations. I don't know. And although these 70 messengers were to go with the gospel to all the peoples, still, as far as we can discern, these are the midwives talking now, it was only coincidental that this group happened to number just 70. Certain it was that Jesus would have accepted no less than half a dozen others. So it could have been like 76, but that's how it got whittled down. But they were unwilling to pay the price of forsaking wealth and families. Probably even more than a half a dozen. Could have been at least a dozen, maybe more. So now they're going to move on down to the camp in Pella. And Jesus and the 12 now prepared to establish their last headquarters in Perea. Again, they're safe in Perea, near Pella, where the Master was baptized in Jordan. Okay, that's where Jesus was baptized, in the Jordan. And it's about halfway between the southern tip of the Sea of Galilee and the northern tip of the Dead Sea. So he's about a little more than a day and 5-hour walk, I think, from Jerusalem now in Pella. So the last 10 days of November were spent in council at Magadan. And we know that because our timeline has already really gone up to December 29th. So in November, they spent at council in Magadan. And on Tuesday, December 6th, the entire company of almost 300 started out at daybreak with all their effects to lodge that night near Pella by the river. They had some pilgrims with them, people who had followed some of these evangelists into the camp. So there's now about 300 of them. But still, the ones that were going to be actually going out and teaching, I don't like the word preaching, teaching, was 70 in number. And this was the same site, Pella, by the spring that John the Baptist had occupied with his camp several years before. So they're going to set up camp right there where Jesus had been baptized by John along the Jordan River in an area called Pella. So after the breaking up of the Magadan camp, David Zebedee, remember, he's the one that's got the messenger corps, and they're almost like the Pony Express. I mean, they got runners, and they can send out messages that can get to somebody in a day easily that might be 80 miles away, because these guys are runners. They're runners. They run from one place, pass along the note. Next guy runs, passes along the note, and then eventually gets to Jesus. So David Zebedee returned to Bethsaida, way back up there in Galilee, and began immediately to curtail the messenger service. The kingdom was taking on a new phase. Daily, pilgrims arrived from all parts of Palestine, and again, all of Israel in that day was called Palestine. And even from remote regions, and there were areas. There was a northern area, which was Judea, and the southern area was Israel. So, So they're coming from all parts of Palestine, even from remote regions of the Roman Empire. These are pilgrims, people trying to find Jesus. Believers occasionally came from all the way from Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is Iran of today, and from the lands east of the Tigris. That would put even east of that. That's heading out towards India. Maybe taking in Pakistan and Afghanistan of today. So east of the Tigris. Accordingly, on Sunday, December 18, David, with the help of his messenger cord, loaded onto the pack animals the camp equipment, then stored in his father's house, with which he had formerly conducted the camp of Bethsaida by the lake. Bidding farewell to Bethsaida for the time being, he proceeded down the lake shore and along the Jordan to a point about 1/2 mile north of the apostolic camp. And in less than a week, he was prepared to offer hospitality to almost 1,500 pilgrims. Now that's how many he had done in way up there in Bethsaida. He had housed, think of it like a tent city, about 1,500 pilgrims. Now he's getting ready to set it up again. So the apostolic camp could accommodate about 500. The apostolic camp would accommodate about 500, but David's going to set up a camp that can hold about 1,500 people. So this was the rainy season in Palestine, December, and these accommodations were required to take care of the ever-increasing number of inquirers, mostly earnest, who came into Perea to see Jesus and to hear his teaching. David did all this on his own initiative, setting up that camp, though he had taken counsel with Philip, the apostles Philip and Matthew, at Magadan. He employed the larger part of his former messenger corps as his helpers in conducting this camp. He now used less than 20 men on a regular messenger duty. So near the end of December and before the return of the 70, almost 800 visitors were gathered about the master, and they found lodging in David's camp. That's so cool. So now we'll get to the return of the 70. The 70 have gone out, they've done their thing, and now they're going to come back with the apostolic corps in Pella to be around Jesus. So on, and that was between December 6th, or it might have been the 19th, up to now December 30th. So on Friday, December 30th, while Jesus was away in the nearby hills with Peter, James, and John, Peter, James, and John always were accompanying Jesus. No wonder Peter and Jesus are so close. The 70 messengers were arriving by couples, accompanied by numerous believers at the Pella headquarters. All 70 were assembled at the teaching site about 5 o'clock when Jesus returned to the camp. This is so cool. This is a story. The evening meal was delayed for more than an hour. Their meal was delayed for an hour. They didn't even fit this in. Wow, they had to wait an hour to eat. While these enthusiasts for the gospel of the kingdom related their experiences. And David's messengers had brought much of this news to the apostles during the previous weeks, but it was truly inspiring to hear these newly ordained teachers of the gospel personally. They were coming back and telling the stories of what happened. Did they heal people? Were they teaching people about the kingdom of heaven? Were they accepting the teachings? And so now they're coming back and they're all excited. They're going to be all around the master and want to tell him what happened and all their teaching during the last 2 weeks, whatever. So they wanted to tell how their message had been received by hungry Jews and Gentiles. At last, Jesus was able to see men going out to spread the good news without his personal presence. So the master now knew, Jesus knew, that he could leave this world without seriously hindering the progress of the kingdom. So that was a big relief for him. That was a big cloud off his shoulders, because he was afraid that people were just going to just dumb themselves down after he was gone, and this teaching would never move on. Well, it has. It surely has. So when the 70 related how, quote, even the devils were subject, unquote, to them, They referenced to the wonderful cures that they had wrought in the cases of victims of nervous disorders. Nevertheless, there had been a few cases of real spirit possession relieved by these ministries. And referring to these, Jesus said, "It is not strange that these disobedient minor spirits should be subject to you, seeing that I beheld Satan falling as lightning from heaven." That was up on Mount Hebron, remember? When Jesus said, no, 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 stand behind me. Stand behind me. I am not going, you, Satan, are not going to give me all the kingdoms of the world just because you think you own them to worship you. He said, no, 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 no. Satan, you stand behind me. He didn't kill him. He said, just stand behind him. Be after me. So spiritual battle is ongoing, ongoing, ongoing. So Satan falling as lightning from heaven, but rejoice not so much over this. This is Jesus. For I declare to you that as soon as I return to my Father, they all didn't want to hear that, but he's keep reminding them. He says, we will send forth our spirits. That's going to be the spirit of truth. We will send forth our spirits into the very minds of men so that no more can these few lost spirits enter the minds of unfortunate mortals. Oh my God. Although that's what's happening all over our world today. We've got all these evil spirits that have inhabited the minds of those people who are in charge of this world right now. We call it the Luciferian rebellion. That's why the Christ explosion is so important. The battle has got to take place. People have got to have the strength to thwart the evil spirits that want to inhabit you. Because you know what? Evil spirits can't get any energy. It's like a car that's going to run out of gas. They can't get any energy from God because God has disowned them. So the only way they can get energy is if they can invade your space, if they can take your energy from you. So if you leave yourself wide open, you can be inhabited by an evil spirit. How many times do these kids, these crazy kids, go out and kill up all these people? And then after he's killed all these people, if he hasn't been killed himself, he goes, I didn't mean it. I don't know. I don't know why I did it. It's because they're infested. They're inhabited by evil spirits telling them, hey, go kill some people. Go kill some people. Don't forget, there's a spiritual battle going on right now between God and Satan. God and Satan. It's probably Christ and Satan. Satan wants your soul. Satan wants your soul so that you can be delivered into his kingdom. God wants your soul too. The two of them are battling it out right now. They're battling it out for you. For you. I rejoice with you that you have power with men. This is Jesus. But be not lifted up because of this experience, but the rather rejoice that your names are written on the rolls of heaven, and that you are thus to go forward in an endless career of spiritual conquest. That was Jesus. Now the midways back in here. And it was at this time, just before partaking of the evening meal, that Jesus experienced one of those rare moments of emotional ecstasy, which his followers had only occasionally witnessed. And here he said to them out loud, I thank you, my Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that while this wonderful gospel was hidden from the wise and self-righteous, the Spirit has revealed these spiritual glories to these children of the kingdom. Yes, my Father, it must have been pleasing in your sight to do this. And I rejoice to know that the good news will spread to all the world, even after I shall have returned to you, and the work which you have given me to perform. I am mightily moved as I realize you are about to deliver all authority into my hands, that only you really know who I am, and that I only really know you, and those to whom I have revealed you. And when I have finished this revelation to my brethren in the flesh, I will continue the revelation to your creatures on high. That's you and I today. Jesus continues. He just continues. He's got a soft spot for earth. Don't forget, he's in charge of an entire universe. And there's lots of places on the universe where there are creatures like humans that have souls that live in them in communities where there's logic and cities and governments and all these other things. It's not just on earth. But Jesus spent his human life, Christ spent his human existence here on earth. So earth is special. Earth is very special. And we're very lucky that he came here. So when Jesus had thus spoken to the Father, he turned aside to speak to his apostles and his ministers. And he said, "Blessed are the eyes which see and the ears which hear these things." God, yeah, I wish I could have seen him. I think Jesus said, "You did see me." I think I was there in the times. I was a friend of Jesus. I just don't remember. I don't remember. I'll remember when I go back. And maybe many of you out there were friends of Jesus as well. Maybe you did live at that time. Maybe your soul and your personality did experience that time when Christ was here. So Jesus is saying, "Blessed are the eyes which see and the ears which hear these things." Let me say to you that many prophets and many of the great men of the past ages desired to behold what you now see, but it was not granted to them. And many generations of the children of light yet to come, that's us, many generations of the children of the light yet to come will, when they hear of these things, envy you. Yes, I do envy them. They will envy you who have heard and seen them. I think we all do. We all envy those apostles for being able to spend that much time with the creator of an entire universe. So then, speaking to all the disciples, Jesus said, "You have heard how many cities and villages have received the good news of the kingdom, and how my ministers and teachers have been received by both the Jew and the Gentile. And blessed indeed are these communities which have elected to believe the gospel of the kingdom. But woe," here he goes again, "woe upon the light-rejecting inhabitants of Chorazin." Chorazin's a city kind of, maybe about 5 miles away from Capernaum, up there in the Sea of Galilee. Also, Bethsaida Julius, woe to them. They're another town that's around the tip of the Sea of Galilee. So woe to you, inhabitants of Chorazin, and woe to you, Bethsaida Julius, and even woe to you, Capernaum, the cities which did not well receive these messengers. Jesus goes on, he says, "I declare that if the mighty works done in these places had been done in Tyre and Sidon," he's said this before. Remember when he went up to Phoenicia and he visited the towns of Tyre and Sidon, and those are Gentile cities, and all these new pilgrims came in and believed in the kingdom of heaven even more than the Jews did. And he's glorifying Tyre and Sidon. Because he says, "I declare that if the mighty works done in these places had been done in Tyre and Sidon, the people of these so-called heathen cities would have long since repented in sackcloth and ashes. It shall indeed be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon in the day of the judgment than for Chorazin and Capernaum and probably even Jerusalem." The next day, being the Sabbath, Jesus went apart with the 70 and said to them again, Jesus, "I did indeed rejoice with you when you came back, bearing all the good tidings of the reception of the gospel of the kingdom by so many people, scattered throughout Galilee, Samaria, and Judea. But why were you so surprisingly elated?" He's talking to the 70. "Did you not expect that your message would manifest power in its delivery? Did you go forth with so little faith in this gospel that you'd come back in surprise?" This is Jesus. "You come back in surprise and its effectiveness?" Question. "And now, while I would not quench your spirit of rejoicing, I would sternly warn you against the subtleties of pride." These guys might have started getting a little prideful, thinking maybe they're a little bit better than everybody else. And Jesus is warning him against pride. I warn you against the subtleties of pride or spiritual pride. If you could understand the downfall of Lucifer, the iniquitous one, you would solemnly shun all forms of spiritual pride. Again, Lucifer was one basically of the 12 oversouls. He was the light of light. He was the morning sun. He was the morning light. What was it? What was it?
Morning star.
The morning star. Yeah, he's the morning star. But then he got a little bit too big for his britches. He decided, well, I can be as good as God. And then he kind of basically swearing against God. That's being iniquitous. When you say, up yours, God, that's, you don't want to do that. Seriously, you don't want to do that. Because there isn't much places to go when you become an iniquitous person, especially if you have accepted Christ and then you turn against him later. That's iniquity. That's a no-no. That's no. You don't want to do that. So he says, if you could understand the downfall of Lucifer, the iniquitous one, you would solemnly shun all forms of spiritual pride. He goes on. He says, you have entered upon this great work of teaching mortal man that he is a son of God. That's what we're doing. That's what Marisa and I are doing. You're all sons of God. You're all sons and daughters of God. And you're even in better stead if you do his will. And do that with the Holy Spirit within you. He goes on, he says, I have shown you the way, so go forth to do your duty, and be not weary in well-doing. To you and to all who shall follow in your steps down through the ages, let me say, I always stand near. And my invitation call is, and ever shall be, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am true and loyal, and you shall find spiritual rest for your souls. So back to the story. And they found the master's words to be true when they put his promises to the test. And since that day, countless thousands also have tested and proved the surety of these same promises. Okay, we're going to get into, I think this is the last paper of paper 163. It's entitled Preparation for the Last Mission. This is it. This is the last mission, because after this, they're going to start heading back into Jerusalem again, and that's when he actually is going to get arrested. So this is their last mission before before the heavy one comes, so to speak. So the next few days, that would take them probably into the new year, after the 1st of January, into the year 8030 now. The next few, how are we doing on time? Oh, okay. The next few days were busy times. We've got about 10 minutes. Yeah. The next few days were busy times in the Pella camp. Preparations for the Perean mission were being completed. And Jesus and his associates were about to enter upon their last mission, the 3-month tour of all Perea. So they're going to spend 3 months there, which terminated only upon the master's entering Jerusalem for his final labors on earth. So throughout this period, so our story will continue and cover those 3 months and kind of the things that take place. So I don't know how long that's going to take. It may take us maybe a week or so. But anyway, throughout this period, the headquarters of Jesus and the 12 apostles was maintained at the Pella camp. And it was no longer necessary for Jesus to go abroad to teach the people. They now came to him in increasing numbers each week, and from all parts, not only from Palestine, but from the whole Roman world and from the Near East. Although the master participated with the 70 in the tour of Perea, he spent much of his time at the Pella camp, teaching the multitude and instructing the 12. That would be his 12, his apostles. So throughout this 3 months period, at least 10 of the apostles remained with Jesus. Now the women corps also prepared to go out 2 by 2, with the 70 to labor in the larger cities of Perea. And this original group of 12 women had recently trained a larger corps of 50 more women in the work of home visitation and in the art of ministering to the sick and the afflicted. Perpetua, Simon Peter's wife, became a member of this new division of the women's corps and was entrusted with the leadership of the enlarged women's work under Abner. And after Pentecost, after the crucifixion and Jesus coming back, came back to life for 40 days. And Pentecost is when, we'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit deeper. That's when Jesus gives all of them the Spirit of truth, which gives them the ability to go out and heal by touch. But after Pentecost, she, Perpetua, remained with Peter, her illustrious husband, accompanying him on all of his missionary tours, and on the day Peter was crucified in Rome. She then was fed to the wild beasts in the arena. Poor Perpetua, oh my God. She has to watch her husband be crucified. Peter insisted upside down. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get into that story. Don't want to jump ahead too far. But you remember, all the Christians were being thrown into this arena and being eaten by lions. I mean, that's what they thought of Christians. At least the Romans did. And the Jews were happily turning them over to the Romans. So poor Perpetua got eaten in the arena. This new women's corps also had as members the wives of Philip, the Apostle Philip, and the wife of Matthew, and the mother of James and John. That would be Zebedee. That would be the Zebedee wife. The work of the kingdom now prepared to enter upon its terminal phase under the personal leadership of Jesus. And this present phase was one of spiritual depth in contrast with the miracle-minded and the wonder-seeking multitudes who followed after the Master during the former days of popularity in Galilee. Remember, he was very popular. He had healed a lot of people. And then they wanted him to be a king. And he said, I don't want to be a king. I'm not from this world. And that upset them. And they kind of turned their back on him and walked away. However, there were still any number of his followers who were material-minded and who failed to grasp the truth that the kingdom of heaven is the spiritual brotherhood of man, founded on the eternal fact of the universal fatherhood of God. And that does it. That does it for our paper 163. We're going to get into next. I don't have the time to do it. I'm going to turn this over to Marisa, see if she's got anything to say.
There's nothing to say, but it's a good story.
It is a good story.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of the guys still there.
You want to just say hi? See if anything pops up? So we'll be getting in tomorrow. We'll get into paper 164, and that's at the Feast of Dedication. Jesus kind of slips away from a couple of his apostles that go with him, Nathaniel and Matthew. And he takes off into Jerusalem all by himself. And everybody's freaking out, totally freaking out. So we're going to get into that tomorrow. So thank you, Joe Moris, Answers Heaven Speaks. I can't read the names of people who've come on here, but thank you so much for those of you who have stayed with us live. And thank you for all you people out there that are following the story. I'm so amazed. I am just absolutely amazed. Yeah, don't forget to go to Facebook, Answers Heaven Speaks, and then you're getting a lot of link clicks. Link clicks are when people click on discoverintuition.com.
So I spent a couple hours today making sure my website was up.
Yeah, I hope it is. Now you're going to be a little fuzzy, Marisa, because you've opened up all that light. Yeah, you're going to need to close that back up. Okay. Otherwise, right. People are not going to see your face. I'll let you sit here.
We'll listen to this again later. I like the way we did it the other night. Hi, guys.
Yeah, just say hi.
Hello.
If anything pops into your head.
Here. The thing that kept going through my head was are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm trying to get over too much.
Shoes, you just almost tripped on my shoes.
Yeah.
I kept wanting to draw a chart. And the cool thing about running this, we could run this episode later. I could run it and run the whiteboard on Zoom, and I can draw the picture on the computer show. But they just kept drawing a picture. They kept drawing a picture of us, of people, because you kept talking about faith in the beginning.
Yeah.
They were talking about people and healing and how Jesus passed on the ability to heal to the 70. Yeah. It was all 70 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was kind of like an attunement, like what we do, like when I do on people with their Reiki attunements or with the higher self attunements, and
Yeah, they all became Reiki masters.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what Dr. Emoto, or not Emoto, the guy who started Reiki. God, it's slipping my mind. Horrible. But anyways, he went up to the top of a mountain. I know. Well, he went up to the top of a mountain to find out how Jesus healed, and that's when he was given the Reiki symbols and the ability to heal. So they were just showing Jesus is having this, like, they're showing like the sun. Remember the other night they talked about the gold or the yellow sun or whatever inside of us. And it was interesting because I kept seeing like children, they had like the sun inside them. And then I saw them get older and older and older. And then some of them, the sun would leave, like kind of like the Christ within them would leave because they would fall into fear or anger or whatever. The world would get to them. But I just kept hearing them say, no matter what, when you follow the sun, you'll always know where you're going. And I was like, well, isn't that kind of like directions or whatever? You know, you follow the sun going down on the west or whatever, the sun goes down. And they said, follow the sun. You'll always feel it inside of you, whether you're baptized or whether you're a Christian or not, no matter what religion you are, you always have a sun inside of you, and we are the sun. So like, basically like our soul is like the Father. And he talks about the Father. We have this consciousness that's up there, and it creates a sun, and that sun lives inside of our soul, and it guides us and it leads us the whole way. But it doesn't really tell us what to do. They're saying it holds a frequency to where you don't feel human emotion. And that's why it's so easy for them to say, oh, just forgive or just have faith. Because if you don't have like bitter human emotion, it's pretty easy to believe in anything or have faith in anything, right? If you're not dredging up the past or thinking about the future and you're not worrying, like they keep saying, don't worry, don't worry. But they're saying that there is a piece inside of every single person, everyone watching this, everyone out there, a piece inside of us that is completely emotionally mature, that doesn't get triggered by the world. And they said that we just need to start asking for that, because what the world needs right now is the Christ within each of us. And that Christ is like, just think about when you broke a lamp, or you broke something when you were a kid and you were just like, that's it, I'm dead, I'm never going to see the light of day, my parents are going to come home, they're going to be so mad, and you just were like dreading it. Or you had a note that got sent home from school that you did something and you had to have your parents sign it or something. I don't think I ever got that, but you know, it's like that real like just nervous, like, oh my God, I'm just going to get it. And you don't even know what's going to happen. It's that fear of like unknowing. But now looking back at that time, you think, oh gosh, if I only knew then what I knew now, that was no big deal compared to all the stuff I've gone through in my life. So what they're saying is that there's that piece of us that's grown up and beyond that's in us already for every single thing that's going on in our life. Because if you think about it, what Jesus was saying was everything that happens bad in this world is based on somebody being afraid of the unknown. If somebody's afraid of an unknown, they are triggered to just blow up on people, go off on people, scream at people, yell at people, get mad at people. And then those people then go and they have that bad mood on them. They go blow up on somebody else and explode on somebody else. And then, you know, then they go off on the person that works next to them in a cubicle. And then that cubicle person goes home and yells at their kid, and their kid starts acting out at school and then goes and bullies another kid. So it's like this, like we are all one in a sense, but we're not. And we have to remember that. We have to remember that the way that we treat others is going to, that's where we're talking about, it was the rules, the 2 rules to live by. Because if a lot of people don't love themselves, a lot of people treat themselves the way that they were treated when they were growing up. Maybe they weren't loved as a child, like their parents didn't have time to love them or didn't have time to pay attention to them or whatever. They'll love others the way they love themselves, and that's how they were taught to love. So they may like neglect themselves because they were neglected as a child. So then when they go to love someone else, they neglect. They don't hoard over the person. They just kind of neglect them. That's love to them. So it's kind of hard to because I was telling Jesus in my head, I was saying it's kind of hard to say love your neighbor because nobody really knows what love is. I mean, love is different to every single person. Mm-hmm. Some people, love is like you. I mean, I watched this couple the other day and I was just like, what? Like I cannot stand having a boyfriend like that or a husband. They were holding hands the whole time in Sprouts. Holding hands. I was like, how do you even like move and pick out an apple? It was like, he was like picking out with one hand and like they were holding hands with like, and I was just like she's insecure or he's insecure, but you could tell he was kind of pulling her around the store, and she was just like walking around just like, like, and I was just like, I would be so drunk and on so many drugs or something if someone was going to be pulling me around like that. They'd have to have me drugged and drunk to have me being pulled around by a man like that. But it was like, he was just, I mean, everywhere. They were in there for like an hour. I was in there for an hour the whole time holding hands. And I was just like, somebody there doesn't know the true definition of love, or either she needs to have him holding her hand so he feels like she's not going to get taken by somebody. And it wasn't like a really like, rich looking guy with a really good looking girl. Like it wasn't anything like that. It was just two very average, basic people just basically holding hands, walking around everywhere together. And he was a little bit ahead of her, and she was at one point he was on the phone and he was trying to pick out an apple, and he was like this with the phone and trying to pick out an apple, and he was holding her hand with the other hand, and I was just oh my God. Wow. But just think of one of the two of them growing up or something has some sort of issues to where they think that love is holding on to each other the whole time. So when they have kids, I'm sure their kids are going to feel like they need to be holding on to somebody, or they're going to think that in order to show that you love someone, your parents have to be holding hands. So if they grow up and their significant other doesn't want to hold their hand, they're going to feel very unloved. So when you hear things like love others the way you love yourself or whatever, it's kind of like a recipe for like mass chaos if everybody's going to love everybody, because love is kind of just a weird thing. But the way that Jesus came in and told me when I was sitting over there, I kind of got knocked out, and we were talking to me. I was sitting up there at this little table, and he goes, love is attention. Love is attention without anger. He says, so when somebody's paying attention to somebody else, it's because they love them. Like when you're a child, if you're getting attention as love. So human beings take love as attention. So people will do anything for attention, even bad stuff, to get attention. And he's not saying love is attention. He's saying human beings believe that love is attention. So by getting attention or not getting attention, that's basically what love is. And I said, well, then what is love, Jesus? And he says, and he goes, what is love? And I was like, no, what is love? And he says, what is love? And I said, no, what is love? And he said, what is love? And I was like, oh my God. Yes. No, God says yes. No, I said, oh my gosh, seriously, are you going to tell me? And he says, everybody inside of themselves knows what love is. I don't know if I could.
More is in respect and adore. Respect and adornment.
Okay, so that's yours. Mine would be trust and leaving me alone. Like trusting me to do what I need to do and not asking me about it a million times and not hovering. So everyone's love is different.
I think, who was it said that love has something like 33 different definitions?
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, there's like 33 different, I don't know which language it's in. But...
Peter says, love is flowers, and that's why love dies. He's over here with like flowers, but he's going, if you want someone to know that you love them, you give them flowers. What better to do than to give them a dying plant? Peter's being so funny. But no, Peter actually just said something that was very smart. He says, love for God, most people think of God as a genie. They go, oh, God, rub my lamp, and okay, God, what do I want today? This is what I want. And he says, you ask a genie for help, you're going to get a genie. He says, you can't be asking God for things the way you would ask for a genie. He says, you have to love what it is that you want. And then that's when it will become. He says, this is where we get into it with wealth and money and loving, because you can love the way you feel when you have enough money to cover your bills, and you don't have to worry about, where the money's going to come for your next, house payment or the electricity bill or whatever. But you have to think of the way that you feel when you're secure with that, when you're not in fear. And he said that's love. That love is when you don't feel fear. Interesting. Just wow. That's it. When you don't feel fear, he says, not necessarily safe. He says, when you feel secure and you feel a part of and you feel included and you feel at one with your life. That's when you feel truly loved. That's kind of true, huh? That's pretty good, Peter. Pretty good. He goes, thank you. He says, so when we look for a relationship, when we get into a relationship, when we start to feel like that security, that person is going to be taken away, we get very afraid, and we start to either push that person away to make them go away quicker so that we won't feel the feeling of having that security taken away. So love is security, and when you're in love with someone, you're not necessarily in love with that person, you're in love with the way that you feel with that person. So it's not just like a one person thing. He says, love the way that you feel when you're in love. He says it's not lust. It's not, ooh la la, they're so attractive and oh la 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 la. He says that's lust. But the being in love with someone and feeling secure with someone and just knowing that they're there, he says that's love. And in friendship, it's the feeling of neutrality, like you don't have to worry that they're going anywhere. So he says the very first heartbreak our consciousness ever experiences as a soul is when we get broken off from God, because we know we will never get put back there. We'll never go back, and we'll never be one with God again the way we were, because now we're off on this mission for eternity to learn and grow and experience and then become our own creator, our own God, and then break little pieces off of us. So he says the first heartbreak, he's saying the very first heartbreak is the separation from that which we came from, and that which is love. And that's completion, that's togetherness. He says, however, the fact that we are broken from that which is love, and we are love, gives us the opportunity to become all that we are, all that we ever will be, and all that we ever were, and create new life, create new beings, and create new worlds. Because that's what everything's about. That's what creation is about. It's creation, is making things, is living and experiencing everything that we've made in this world. And so he says, stop searching for love. Ask yourself first what love is inside, and then you'll find love. He says, stop looking for money. Ask what it is that you want to feel from having the money, and then ask to feel that. Ask God, ask Christ. Ask the piece of you that is mature, that is spiritually, mentally, and emotionally mature enough to know and understand the emotions of being wealthy or being in love or having that house or that car or having those kids or whatever. Emotionally mature enough to feel love and be able to give love to those things without it being bad. You know, I want to have $1 million and I want to know what it feels like, what I would feel like to have that money. And if it's not love inside, if it's not completion, if it's not security, then teach me how to feel that, or make me want something else. And that's kind of what we have to ask God, because everybody's wants and desires drive them in life. And sometimes the wants and desires drive people to want to make $1 million, and then they get the $1 million and they end up committing suicide anyways, or they end up just not wanting to be there. They think, oh gosh, all that, and now I don't have anything. It's because, he says, it's because they've never known love inside, and they are not willing to accept love inside. So ask Christ into your heart. Ask Christ consciousness. If you don't want to do Christ, ask the Christ consciousness as a golden heart. Ask this golden metallic like heart into your heart. Pull it into your heart and ask that all the darkness within you that's been hurt, that's been torn away from you, that you've lost love, that you've lost money, you've had experiences, you've had trauma. Ask that the golden heart of Christ fill the space inside of you now that is empty and that is lost. And as this golden heart expands throughout your entire body, allow it to expand up all the way through your entire body until it's surrounding you, and just know and understand that Christ is you, is in you, is all around you, and the love of the Father, the love of the Mother, the love of all of your soul, all of your soul family, everybody, anyone that you've ever known, will know, have known, that love is inside of you, and don't be afraid to let the love in. In fact, ask now that heart be opened up and allow all the love that has been sent to you throughout your lifetime to be let into your body now, because many of you have completely blocked the love because you don't want it. You don't want it. You don't want to send it. You don't want the love because it hurts. It hurts you because you're afraid you're going to lose it. But know and understand that if you can ask each day to allow the love in that you didn't see as love, maybe you saw it as criticism, or you saw it as nagging, or you saw it as something other than love. Ask now to each day to allow that love into your heart, and then that will then raise your vibration, raise up your frequency to a point where you can heal yourself. You cannot get sick when your body is in a love resonance, where your body feels loved. The parts of your body that get sick are the ones that don't feel loved. They feel isolated, and they feel empty, and they feel alone. And that is all we have to say today. let love in, let love shine, and allow Christ to do Christ's job. And that is to teach you the emotional maturity to know that I did break that lamp. My parents are probably going to be pretty upset. I didn't mean to do it. I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm just going to say I'm sorry, and that's it. But that never happens like that. The kids feel guilty, then they get down on themselves, and then they get in trouble, and then they hang on to it, and they remember breaking the lamp, and then they feel guilty, and then the next time the parents get a lamp, they don't want to go near it because they don't want to break it. So there's just all of these things that get imprinted into us out of fear of what other people are going to feel, and that's the unknown. So when you're feeling the unknown, when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling unease, just ask Christ, ask your soul, your I am, to step in and to help you to feel at ease and to help you to not see the future, but to know that the future is going to be okay. Because when you have faith and when you have that Christ consciousness within you, guiding you and leading you each day, allowing the love into your life, you can't go wrong. Because even if something really bad happens that you would think is bad, it won't be bad. You'll say, oh, I learned something from that. Oh gosh, yeah, okay, that wasn't that bad. But if you look at it from the other point where there's no love in you and you think everyone's against you, nothing can ever be good when you feel everyone's against you. We are all brothers and sisters, and we are all able to treat each other with respect and love, regardless of how horrible our neighbor is, Peter says, and how horrible they think we are. Okay, and Jesus says, and it is good. He says, and it is good, and it is so. We bless you. And then he went like this, whoosh, and I went boom, like that. And he did me back kind of like those, you were saying the healing people? Uh-huh. He just did that to me and went like boom, and I went, ugh, like my energy body went backwards, and I went, oh, thanks. And he says, yeah, I just had to heal that thing on the back of your head because my head's been hurting. Like that. My head doesn't hurt.
I finally remembered the thing that was from yesterday that God had said.
Verily, verily?
No, oh. God said when Jesus was getting baptized, he said, this is my son, whom I'm very well pleased.
Very well pleased. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you thought of that last night.
I just couldn't come up with it. I could remember the well, I could remember the pleased, but I just couldn't put it together. So
I know, I can never think of it when I'm on camera.
Before you finish, if you could just say hi to those who actually came on live.
Mama's on here. Hi, Mama. Tell the kids, did the kids see me? To love when you, she says, return to love when you feel fear. But it's very hard to when you're in fear to be like, oh, let me just feel love. I just want to feel love. But if we can ask the piece of us in our mind that's already there, that we already have access to step into us and just say, step into me now, piece of me that already knows the outcome to this, and just help me to feel something other than fear, unknowing, then it just goes away. And that's what they were saying about the attunement is when they got taught to heal. These 70 just got brought into a place within themselves where they were not in fear, where they just felt, and that's why they couldn't have like the outside belongings and stuff, because they'd have a fear of, oh, what if my money gets stolen, or what if this gets taken, or what if this family member gets sick? Then I'm going to just be so upset if something happens to them. So he was trying to find people that were unattached to other things, not because they were bad things, but just because their focus needed to be on
what they're doing.
Yeah, like I try to channel, and then the kids come in, and it's like I'm no longer a channel, I'm now mom.
Yeah.
So I drop down into my lower chakras because I'm like trying to get grounded and trying to work with the kids and stuff. So it's nice to be able to take a little tiny bit of a break and come over and channel and stay connected to the ethers. But then back to Vegas will be like back into the everyday run of whatever. Mama's there. Let's see, Marisa. Oh, hey, Marisa. And then there's Marisa Carter. 2 Marisas.
Wow.
3 Marisas with me. That says Sid, I think. Jessica. There's lots of people on here. Rachel, I haven't seen you in forever. Hey, girl. Werner, hey. You guys better come to class tomorrow night. See you on here. You better be at class. If you guys can't afford to come to class, remember, just let me know and we'll give you a coupon code to get into class, okay? Don't ever not come to class because of money. And then Jose. Werner. There's Werner again. Okay. Yeah, I think I got everybody on here. And then Rosa. Hi, Rosa. Oh, is that Rose or Rosa? My eyes are so bad. No, but let's talk about my glasses again one more time. Where are these things? You guys got to see them. They're the best. Where are they?
Oh, your sunglasses?
Yeah. excuse the Tom Cruise look, but watch this. I'm recording you. These are so cool. You can wear them and they just record everywhere that you look and go. You can see like your own hands. And I was thinking when I'm watching these through the camera, it must be what our soul feels like.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, because I always kind of feel like that movie, The Blair Witch Project. You know, I don't feel real, and I feel like we're kind of like watching life through like a camera. But you watch life through these eyes after the fact, and I feel like I'm my soul, kind of like reviewing my life. And so it's kind of cool. I wear these on my head. Me and Demi each got a pair. Demi was like, I don't understand these. What's the point? She's Gen Z. I was like, oh, you need them to be like this then, huh? Because the younger generation are all like the selfie like this, and she didn't really get why you would have glasses pointing outward. I was like, no, now, but me being the person that likes to be on camera, I got her a pair so that she could wear them and video me.
Oh, man.
So we both got a pair, but it was funny because she was like looking at them going like, which way did they tape? I don't understand. It was really funny. Anyways, okay guys, well, yeah, these glasses are fun, and they come in like actual glasses, like with like the clear lens. So I want to get those too. And they record like at a minute at a time. So if you see anybody with one of these little lights on there and they're talking to you, they're recording everything that you're saying. So don't incriminate yourself. Okay. All right, guys, I will see you later. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow for sure. Yeah. Yep. Oh, and class tomorrow night is, I'm going to do 7 to 9. It'll be here out of California. If anyone's local, like, you know, Christina and you guys, please call me so that we can arrange coming meeting up in person. Okay. Bye.